Why was now the time to run for mayor?
Well, the time for me to run for mayor was pivotal once Mayor Choate made his announcement at the State of the City address back in October that he would not be seeking another term of office. He said when he ran for mayor eight and a half years ago that he would only do 2 terms, and he did exactly that. And I loved how he shared that with the city, and very meaningful way. But for me, it's the time to run for mayor because I respect so much how Mayor Choate has managed and been the leader of our city over the past 8.5 years. I've learned a tremendous amount. The time in my life is good as my children are grown. I do run a nonprofit, but that is something that can run under different leadership, but continue to be, obviously a major part of our family. But primarily, it's just a good time in my life based on I have the time to commit because it's more than a full-time job, and you've got to be in the
Yeah.
community and you've got to be out there and willing to put yourself in that position to serve. 90% of it is great and wonderful, and we have a fantastic community that we live in, but there's chances and times that are not so great and wonderful, and you have to be willing to commit that time to be able to do it. And I just think I'm at a great space in my life right now to do that.
Yeah. Was there a ton of thought that went into the decision, or was it pretty easy once Mayor Choate committed to, saying, "Hey, I'm done"?
It was, well, these things I didn't decide it in October. So
Sure.
my husband Bill and I have, and my family have talked about it for well over a year, and probably go back about 2 years. But the timeline presented itself once Mayor Choate decided he was
Yeah.
not going to run. So I've had some people ask me, starting 2, maybe 3 years ago, would I be considering running for mayor? So those thought processes were in my head
Yeah.
pretty much right after I got elected to council. I think, well, let me just see if I like council first, and before we dive right on into mayorhood.
Yeah.
But people that are more familiar with, typically your mayor does come from serving on council because you're going to have
Sure.
more of the information and understanding of how a city works and the processes that you have to go through. So yes,
Yeah.
Gary, it has been going on probably for about a couple of years, but really came full force in October.
Do you feel like these 4 years on the city council, do you feel well prepared at this point? Have you gone through enough and seen enough that you feel good about trying to take that next step?
I definitely feel fairly confident in that. There's so much that goes on with the
So
city.
much.
I will take that back. I do feel confident in running for mayor. I don't know how you would run for this position if you hadn't served some
Sure.
time, understanding how a city works, how city boards are set up, the legal side of it, the revenue side of it, ordinances. All there's a lot to learn, and I'm sure that I have several more things I still need to learn. But just being engaged in as many boards that I possibly can be to understand everything from Public Works, my liaison. So each city councilor, in case you don't know, each city councilor gets certain liaisons that the mayor basically assigns. So my positions, my liaisons are Public Works, Trussville City Schools, and the Industrial Development Authority. So those are pretty diverse groups. But then we also are engaged with planning and zoning, and with Parks and Rec, and the Cemetery Board, and so many other boards that we have across the great city. But yes, I am prepared, and I will be a continuing sponge of absorbing knowledge moving forward, because I don't think you could ever say I know all the things, because I'm sure I don't. But
Yeah.
I'm gonna get there. I'm gonna keep learning.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. I mean, that's the thing about any leader in any realm, whether it be mayor or council person, sports coach, anything, is you've got to have people you can rely on. And, those boards, especially in Trussville, I'm a member of a couple of them. Those are, you can lean on those people, like I know how much y'all lean on like a planning and zoning, because that one's so big that, that stuff flows through them, and then they make recommendations to the council, and you're kind of relying on that expertise, and that kind of everybody is pulling their own weight so that the council as a whole or the mayor can make, the best informed decision on whatever the topic is.
Absolutely. They're all important on same levels. Planning and zoning sets the pace of neighborhoods and businesses that come into our community. So that's important to make sure we have our ordinances set where we keep our community the direction we want it to go. But then you've got finance, which obviously that's extremely important. You have our schools.
Yeah.
That's the economic engine that drives our community, are our schools and our first responders. You're nothing if you're not safe, and if you don't have a really good school system. And we have both, and those will be the top two things that I plan on continuing to focus on, to keep that very on a high scale in the city of Trussville.
Did you ever expect in your life that you would be running for the mayor of a city?
No, of course not. Hey,
it wasn't a goal.
No, I didn't go, oh, I think I'm going to be mayor, after my kids are grown. No, it really, if I could share just a little bit on that. So,
Yeah.
goodness, probably 12, 15 years ago, I was a happy camper, doing a little bit of drapery work. I had a little drapery business that I worked with designers, and I enjoyed that. I played a lot of tennis. I got to cook, which my husband really loved it because I really cooked a lot back then. I did a lot of that kind of thing, which was very enjoyable for me. It allowed me to have a lot of time with my family. And then during COVID, the 2020 election was coming up, and my husband just said, "You ought to consider running for council." And going back a few years after, we lost our son and we started the Will Bright Foundation, that piece of starting a nonprofit from nothing to building it to where we've built it now, and seeing the people that you can serve and how important that is, really was instrumental in knowing that, okay, I do have that servant's heart, and I do enjoy putting people together, connecting, growing, being successful, all the things that I feel like you need to have confidence wise to be able to put yourself out there, because there's not everybody's you're a target. So I pray for protection on that every day, but but just really the foundation kind of spearheaded how I realized how much I enjoy serving, and the sacrifices that you do have to make when you put yourself even in that world, which led me to go, okay, I'll run for city council. That would be kind of like, why, what a little bit of a bucket list maybe type thing to get elected to an office. And and then, I was successful in that campaign, and grateful, very grateful for that, and hope that I have done, or people see that I've done a good job in that role and taken it very seriously and been very active in the community.
Yeah, I'll give you quick kudos. I've said this to other people. Like that last election. Let's see, who was new? You, Jamie, and Ben were the new ones, right? It was just y'all three.
Yes.
And I'll say this, like, anytime I've asked you for something in the last 4 or 5 years, whether it be something, CHHF or history or writing something for the Cava Sun or something, you've been accessible every single time. So I've said
Well,
that
thank you. I
to
try to be.
well, I've said that to other people. I just don't think I've said it to you, which I should probably say it to you first. But I just
Well,
wanted
thank
to
you.
say thank you for that, because sometimes, I'm not saying anybody on this council or even this city, but sometimes it's pulling teeth to get anything, and even if it's something general and easy and non-controversial or whatever, and it can be a pain, and you've made that easy for me, so I appreciate that.
Well, thank you, Gary. That means a lot coming from you. I appreciate it. I do try to answer all my emails. I may not be able to give you the exact answer you need right then, but if there's one thing I've learned in my life is if you don't know the correct answer, go find someone that does and then
Yeah.
get back to the person with that answer. So, there again, we can't possibly know all the things, but if I don't
Yeah.
know something, I'm not too proud to go and ask someone
Yeah.
for an answer or their opinion and then reflect it back.
Yeah. So on that note, what are the biggest issues facing Trussville?
Well, I will say let's start with of course I've already talked about the things that we have to continue to maintain and even do a better job is safety, first responders. You know, we've got to be safe, and we have done, I think, an excellent job in that category, promoting our police and our fire departments. Our two chiefs do a great job with staffing and just maintaining an excellence, which is so important. And then, of course, our schools. You know, our schools are the kudos to the leadership team for starting this school system. We'll celebrate 20 years in July of having our own school system, and we have accomplished so much in that area. And I might say on a budget that, well, I won't go there. But we are doing a great job with the amount of funding that we can help provide to our school system.
Sure.
So the other issues, probably the top three complaints that we get. We'll start with complaints, and then we'll move into some goals that I have. But the mayor and I laugh about our top three are traffic, trains, and trash. So it's the three T's, and you will probably hear a lot about that during my campaign because I'm not officially the train liaison. We don't have one, but somehow I've become that person. But so those are issues that, you know, if people are complaining about them, you have to address them. So, you know, as far as traffic and infrastructure goes, we will definitely continue relationships. It's all about relationships when it comes to roads that we're not responsible for. So county, we have a lot of county roads in the city of Trussville. We've got to maintain those relationships and stay in front of. We have a great representative in Joe Knight. He does a fantastic job for Trussville, helping to provide what we need. You know, he's got other cities that he represents as well. So helping that on the state level, it's ALDOT. We try to stay in front of. I've been in several meetings with Mr. Cooper, who is the director of ALDOT, on keeping Trussville in front of him. We know that Highway 11 needs to be widened from downtown, from the Civitan Park, the Greenway, all the way up to Publix. That's probably 30 or more pieces of property that we've got to access and purchase to be able to do that. ALDOT does. So we know that needs to be done. The things that and then of course there's the interstate, which, you know, that's going to be ALDOT as well, because that's a U.S. Interstate system. That's in the works. So in the next, 15 months or so, it's going to be a little bit of a headache, but in 18 months, we will have the interstate widened. Highway 11 has been widened and paved. The loop road is starting, if you've noticed that, which will pick up at Edgar's and loop you around to Glen Avenue. That's going to take thousands of cars off of Highway 11. That's the goal, to get cars off of Highway 11 best we can, because we know that's where most of the traffic is. And then North Chalkville is being widened right now. That's a county road, so the county's doing that project. Those projects take a long time. I think that project's been in the work for 15 years. That's the one thing it's been the hardest thing in government is to understand how slow things go. I don't like things to go slow, but there again, you just stay in front of them and continue to put your requests there and hoping that you get on their funding cycle very soon. So, and then there's the train. So we have worked great relationships with Norfolk Southern, which that is their rail line. Actually partnered with, collaborated is probably a better word, with the city of Birmingham and Norfolk Southern, and were awarded an $8 million planning grant that will We're working on that right now. It will, for Trussville, it will bridge Mary Taylor Road and add side track from South Chalkville all the way into Norris Yard, which is in Irondale. That will give them room to park 2 trains and not block Trussville from South Chalkville all the way through. The goal with working with Norfolk Southern is to keep stoppages at a minimum in Trussville because it just bottlenecks everything when they do everything. So we have a text thread with our area rep here. As soon as a train is stopping, we report it to make sure it gets reported correctly to the right people and do the best we can. If there's a maintenance issue, there's not a lot that we can do other than report it. I will say Representative Danny Garrett has been very helpful in staying on top of that with us as well. So that's the infrastructure piece and the train piece. And then there's the trash. But we do have a contract with Amwaste. So during my term as city councilor, we formed a Cahaba. Trussville was involved in forming the Cahaba Solid Waste Authority, which I know that kind of sounds unusual, but it was 5 cities that came together. I know, but you're stronger in groups, right?
That's right.
So 5 cities came together and formed this authority, which gives us better buying power. And when we're trying to find a garbage collection company to do a contract with, so we're able to secure a little bit better pricing that way because they're guaranteeing 5 cities and more. I think several more cities have signed on since then. So that has helped us. It's never perfect, but it has helped us. Our public works does a great job of trying to keep the city clean, keeping right-of-ways cut so you can see to turn out. If you see something, we want you to report it to us because sometimes we don't have eyes on every street. It's, the Trussville's 23 square miles. It's sometimes a little bit harder to see everything. But so those are those issues. Some of my goals is probably my top, once we get through safety in schools and infrastructure, is to develop more in the economic development part. That's something I ran on as a counselor. I feel like Trussville is a fantastic place to live. Now I'd love to try to make it a fantastic place to work, where we can add more commercial development that has some light industry. We just bought Glendale Farms. That's a prime piece of property to do future development where we can bring in companies that have high paying jobs that maybe you don't have to leave Trussville to go to work. That would help in the traffic, right? So trying to develop really like an economic development department. So when Mayor Choate came in 8.5 years ago, he started with a finance department and an HR department. We didn't have either one of those 8.5 years ago. And he's done a fantastic job of morphing the city into that next stage. Well, it's about time to morph us a little bit more again. And that would be, to me, that economic development piece that you're really focusing. You have people that are focusing on what to bring into Trussville, what's the best fit to bring it in, and be very strategic about it as we will continue to do housing, but maybe not on as big of a scale as we have in the past 20 years. We grew from 2000 to 2020, according to the League of Municipalities, we grew 83%. That's a lot. And
we outgrew the infrastructure for sure.
Very quick, and infrastructure with our roads, infrastructure with our schools, everything had to tremendously grow, and those things cost a lot of money. So just being able to work on trying to develop more strategic areas. Deerfoot is extremely valuable, and I will not vote for a housing project on Deerfoot, and I have made that very clear. That's really well-designed commercial industrial growth right there. Then we have our park, our industrial park. We have about 320 acres there. Of course, not all of it is available, but we have 30 businesses, 1,200 employees there, including Amerex. And that's a great spot that we need to continue. We opened up Commerce Lane, which has helped with our folks on the train side to be able to get out. But also to help
I use Commerce multiple times a week.
Yeah. And it's great to have a red light to be able to turn left. And so a lot of your
Yeah.
industrial businesses need that better option to get on Highway 11 because the other option is right in front of Payne, which is not
Yeah.
necessarily the safest way to exit. But
No.
all that to say, that would be my next piece, would be definitely trying to form an economic development department where you've just got strategic hyper focus on bringing in really good businesses to the Trussville area. And
Okay.
maybe even some regional opportunities. You know, regional is really huge right now. When the mayor and I go down to the economic development summits that they have a couple times a year, which has been a really good addition to training and meeting and
Yeah.
connecting with people, because it's all about that, right?
Right.
And just learning that some of the regional might be good. Maybe we need to do some regional with Birmingham or up St. Clair County. We don't know, but those are just some good options that can bring in a good tax base to help support all the things that we need to continue support and supporting even more. You know, we still have a school we have to build. The high
Yeah.
school is being built. Yeah. And we did figure the funding out to get started on the high school and get that secured. But we still have a middle school and elementary school that we've got to work on too. Those problems did not go away. So those will be some definite things that, as we are planning for our future, we have to keep that in mind, that we still have a school we have to build. And the last I heard, it's about 45 million. And that's a lot of money, but we still have to build it. And it's imperative that we do, because we've got to keep our schools on a higher echelon of schools, because that's what makes your property values so good. And that's what makes Trussville such a great community to live in.
Absolutely. Let me ask you a few of these from your website. I'll show this
Sure.
stuff on the screen in the podcast, but like looking at kind of this tab you've got on lisabright.org, you've got the issues and then just kind of some general description and kind of your ideas and that kind of stuff. I wrote down some questions I had from each of these. You talked a lot about economic development, so let's start there. You said that Deerfoot, you mentioned Deerfoot Parkway, and I'm going to quote it. You said tremendous potential. What do you foresee as that tremendous potential for Deerfoot Parkway? Because it's been there a while, and it's looks like it's starting to have some things happen, but that's kind of one of, I would think, you tell me, I would think one of the, in a way, one of the last large areas in Trussville that you can really develop commercially.
Correct. I think so too. It's got great access to the interstate, which is always businesses that want to come to your town. They want to be preferably seen from the interstate. If
Yeah.
that can't happen, then fairly close to the interstate. So, yeah, it's very key. The plan would be, if is to primarily have a plan. What does that look like? Have an overlay for what Deerfoot looks like. We don't own all that property. Some of that is U.S. Steel property. Some of it's even county. So the first plan would be to get a plan and to make sure you're not allowing little small pockets be taken up, and that's going to interrupt your plan. So that would be the first plan, is to try to get that strategically laid out. This is what we would like to have here. This person that we would hopefully be able to get in place would be able to take that and work from that, actually help develop it with the council on what does Trussville want there? What do we need? Do we need to, probably your more of your industrial type businesses, clean industry. I'm not talking about, dirty industry coming into our town by any stretch.
Right.
Something, I'm going to give an example, like a Spock or an Amerex. I mean,
Yeah.
they are clean, great companies to work for. And we have multiple other companies that are fantastic to work for. We don't have anything in our park that's a dirty, industry. So we would definitely want to put more of that into our Glendale Potential Park, and then also in the industrial park itself. But along Deerfoot, I feel like that's your opportunity for areas that maybe we don't have covered in the downtown areas. Like when a new business wants to come, they want to go there, and that's great. But we're pretty crowded in
Pretty
that
full.
downtown
Yeah.
hub, so we are really full. So being able to grow that and encourage, and I think if you when you get in front of a broker or a developer and you can show them your plan, this is what our plan is. We would love to invite you to come and be a part of that plan. I think that would be the first thing we would have to do is just work on that, make it an inviting place to come, get a strategic person in place that manages all of it, and get the community involved. What would you like to see as our, like you said, probably our last big piece of property that has interstate access, which is the best part for someone that's wanting to bring a business. They want that. What would you like to see there? And we just introduced the Text My Gov program. I think through that or some other programming, we can conduct surveys. People that are willing to sit down and do that. There's software that we could integrate and work on and have people say, "This is what I would like to be there." But it would have to go through a whole process, and we would have to be very prepared before we started anything.
Yeah. How willing are you to ask the community what they want? Because I know you're on Facebook and I know you've seen it for the last 4 years. That's Pandora's box.
Well, they'd have to be willing to answer a survey. So if they'll some of our friends on social media, they only have time to do a little, quick, whatever. And they don't, chances are they don't even live in Trussville. So but that's fine.
True.
We can take it. You better have thick skin if you're putting yourself in this position.
Yeah. Just make sure that a Chick-fil-A gets up there. We need a second Chick-fil-A. That's all I'll say.
Oh, wouldn't that be fantastic? Yeah,
I heard years ago, and I can't remember if this was a rumor I heard or maybe I wrote about it a decade ago or something. But I had heard they were looking at like kind of out in front of Target, I think where that bank is. I forget the name of the bank. But that at one time Chick-fil-A had looked at like out that way. But I can't remember if that was rumor or if that was something I was actually reporting back then, long time ago.
Well, and we hear that they really would love to be down on Highway 11 in the thick of everything. But unless they contact us, we don't necessarily know what their plan is. So would love another Chick-fil-A. I think we could service 2 Chick-fil-A's quite easily.
Oh, very easily. All right. The only other economic development one I had, let me find it. So you mentioned like more economic growth, moving that forward with new business, clean industry, that kind of thing, but balancing it with the charm and character of Trussville. That seems really hard to me. How do you do that?
Well, I think we've already done it once by taking when Highway 11 is your main street, it's kind of hard to keep it cute and charming, but it's amazing the foresight and vision that the mayor and previous council had moving forward with the Gateway Entertainment District is the importance of landscape and flags and keeping it clean. Making the corner just a break in all the continuous businesses where the Rotary clock is. Having groups like Rotary that will come in, Daybreak Rotary, that will buy a clock and have it set there for people to enjoy. So it's the small things that can turn into the big things. So once you start coming in, we have friends that come into the Gateway District and they are like, first of all, I had no clue this was here. And second of all, how in the world did y'all do this and keep it so cute? So I think that's key. We've got groups like the Downtown Merchants Association. They do some of the cutest things with like the cookie walk. I mean, that is precious that you see everybody walking. It was a freezing cold day last Saturday, and they're walking around with their red bags because they're going to go get their cookies and get their discounts and shop all the local merchants. It takes that kind of community drive, I think, to keep it quaint. So it will, keep it homey, keep it where it's just got an appeal to it. But yet we're a city of 28,000+ people, but we want to maintain it where it doesn't become overpopulated. So now go back to, say, a Deerfoot. You've got to have that as part of your approach when you're sitting down to do your plan and line everything. That has to be
Yeah.
part of the equation.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. All right. So I'm going to go through some random ones now. That was economic development. More connector roads to ease traffic. Is that like just kind of what you mentioned earlier, like continuing kind of like an Edgar's Loop Road, or are there like more opportunities that y'all are seeing around town as you look more and more at traffic patterns?
Yes, there are a lot of opportunities. We have the loop road on the south side of Highway 11 as well, which would connect around. But that's going to take a little bit more time due to the railroad. But we have anytime we can try to find a small road, just like what we did on Commerce Lane.
Mhm.
That was I don't know, a quarter of a mile road, over $1 million for that quarter of a mile road. And I think people don't realize how expensive everything is. But it was important, and we needed to get it done, and it has been a huge success. Getting people, let's say you live on Roper, off of Roper, anywhere south, off of South Chalkville. If you want to go to Publix or the Deerfoot area, you've got to come all the way down to Highway 11
Mhm.
and turn right. So there is an opportunity, and we are trying to piece some things together for a road that would connect off of Roper Tunnel or this Roper Road all the way down to Camp Coleman, which would connect you to Highway 11 and Deerfoot without having to come,
Yeah.
the long 2-lane stretch that is
Yeah.
awful at certain points in time during the day.
I I
There
used I
again, that's a
used
huge price tag.
that would be a really big price tag. I used to live off Roper, so I know that drive really, really
It's
well. So
awful.
yeah,
It
so
is
like you're
awful.
talking
And
like it would probably like kind of over near that, was that neighbor Rivercrest, like kind of loop back behind it or something and cut through the
a little
woods
bit,
toward Camp
little bit
Coleman
further down. A little
further
bit
down.
further down. Yeah. So that they're again talking about a regional and your partners. Your
Oh
partners
yeah.
there would have to be Jefferson County.
Oh
And
yeah.
this would be far too much for the city of Trussville to try and take on as a city project. So we got to have some federal. Another part of what the foundation, I'm going to segue back to that, the opportunities that the foundation has given me is our connectivity with our federal partners in the DC area. So we do a lot in the opioid crisis by promoting and we've actually gotten a bill passed through Congress, which is amazing,
Yeah.
through a group called Voices for Non-Opioid Choices. Through that, we started that almost 7 years ago. Through that partnership and going to Washington multiple times a year, meeting with the senators, Senator Tuberville, Senator Britt, Congressman Adderholt. Well, that's my Fayette Congressman, Congressman Palmer for Trussville,
Yeah.
getting to know them and their staff. Now, their staff is really key. Those are their ears that get straight to them. Being able to have correspondence with them and say, okay, look, this is something Trussville's really got to focus on. Have a good segue that direction, and that's extremely valuable for projects like this. You want to build probably a $15+ million road, maybe not quite that much. You have to acquire a lot of property, but it would probably take 10,000 cars off of Highway 11. And then we are on Jefferson County's 5-year plan to widen Deerfoot, to continue to widen all the way up to the interstate, from Highway 11 to the interstate. That will be widened to a 5-lane. Well, it could reduce down to 4, but at least a 4-lane parkway. And we are on their plan for that. But that takes staying in contact with them. That takes knowing your partners. That takes having a great relationship. The other roads were going to be a lot more expensive, and we've just got to have a lot of help on that. We did go to Washington last year for a fly-in for one day and had a collaboration going with a couple other cities that it was just kind of more of a county-wide thing. It was very helpful. We did not get the funding that we requested, but we're going to request it again. And Senator Britt and Senator Tuberville and Congressman Palmer just staying on their radar for these things, because anytime we can remove cars from Highway 11, that is a win. So those will be some small roads. That's what I mean by connector roads, especially on the south side of the railroad, because bridges are, first of all, they're extremely expensive to build. And we don't have a lot of areas that we can actually build them, because Highway 11 and the railroad are so close together in most of your spots. So the planning a long time ago was not well thought out, that how are we going to get these people over this railroad that right there when Highway 11 runs completely parallel with it. So I hope that answers your questions.
That does. No, that's good. Pivot a little bit to education. Obviously, that recent tax vote failed. Otherwise, this would not be probably a hard question at all. But you mentioned the funding for the C Wing at the high school is in place or something now. I don't know how you can speak on that if you want to, but how, like the rest of those facility needs, obviously a fourth elementary school out at Glendale, the new gym and all of the renovation addition stuff that needs to happen at Hewitt-Trussville Middle School. I don't know if this is a question for you or for Dr. Martin or both, but probably both. But how do y'all kind of go about that now that tax vote did not pass?
Well, we will definitely continue to work together. We are as a city, we are very supportive of our schools. Okay. Dr. Martin is doing a great job. We did figure out there's some state funding that is helping us with the high school. That was the immediate, because it was at 106% capacity. The next teacher that the high school hired was going to be on a push cart. She would not have a classroom. And that's not acceptable. So we knew that we had to go there first. And so we were able to figure out through this funding through the state that's strictly for capital programming, that we would be able to use that and get just the high school done. So yes, we still have 1,350 plus students at Payne Elementary, and that's unacceptable. Kudos to all the staff at Payne for doing such a fantastic job for managing 1,350 students, the largest elementary school in the state of Alabama. And Payne got a 98 on their report card from the Alabama Department of Education. Wow. So kudos to them for just being able to maintain that and maintain straight A's. All of our schools got A's. I will throw this in there and you may cut it, but if not, several of our cities that collect more ad valorem tax than the city of Trussville does got well below A's on their report card. One city got all D's. D is in David. And their property and ad valorem taxes are higher than ours. So how we manage to take the monies that we do get in, and we're grateful for them, plus the city's 1 cent tax that will continue to go to the schools, is amazing, and to produce the product that we do and the high quality of education. So as far as finishing the other two projects, those will definitely be things that we're already sitting down with Dr. Martin and being strategic on how we approach that. Dr. Martin will be speaking at the January Chamber of Commerce and doing a state of the schools. And some of those, as we're continuing to trying to finalize exactly what route we're going to go with trying to get those accomplished in the next, 3 to 5 years, it will be released in January. So I'm not going to steal Dr. Martin's thunder on that, and encourage everybody, if you cannot be there, I believe that the Tribune and we'd love for the Cahaba Sun to come and live stream, because that's going to be a very important chamber meeting that you don't want to miss. And if I know if you can't be there because of work, if the more live streams we can get of that meeting and get that word spread out, the better.
Yeah. I'm kind of past due for recording another one of these with Dr. Martin. Man, when he got the job,
That would be great.
I mean, I was still doing the thing on the truck on my truck tailgate show when he got the job, and that got off the rails because all we talked about was sports because we're both just huge sports guys. So like, I'm sitting there wanting to ask him about being a superintendent, and before I know it, we were talking about like NC State basketball, and it was what it was. But
Goes from there.
hey, I'm overdue to have another one of those with him and
Great.
kind of go through that plan. So sometime in January, I'll get him back on here and we'll go through that again.
That'll be great. And we'll definitely keep the public informed of what our plan is.
Yeah.
The problem has not gone away. It's still there. We still are way overcrowded at Payne, and have just a little bit of space at Magnolia and Cahaba, not much. So they're right behind it, but we are aware of it. We've got to address it, and we will make that presentation in January.
Okay. Just two more for you, and then I'll get you off this hot seat. You mentioned keeping like the community informed. This is one of the kind of summary sections on your website, communication. I'm reading from my notes, but I like what you have here because I think Trussville, I'll just say it, and I think it's been a long time. I'm not just saying this administration or that administration. I think this has been a long time. I think the communications in Trussville have long been antiquated for a long time. That's me saying that. So how would you, I know you've been really good on, like on social media and stuff since you've been a council person and then the text my gov and that kind of stuff. Like what do you want to see from a communication standpoint as a city if you're elected in August?
Well, more and more of communication. So,
Right.
it's even, I have to go back to the tax vote. I mean, we went to multiple HOAs. We had it live streamed. We felt like we hit everybody. And there were some people who were like, there's a tax vote. I'm like, yes, how do you not know about that? But it is impossible to reach everyone. But I think there are a few things that I want to start. First of all, I feel like we need to do a newsletter that can be emailed out, or you could pick it up hard copy. Several of our cities that we like to that we do compare ourselves to, like Vestavia, Mountain Brook, Homewood, they produce quarterly or monthly newsletters, and you certainly can't do all the communication that the city does on it, but you can keep people informed of things that are coming up, that they've got it and they can sign up for it. They don't have to sign up for it. So that would be something that I think would be an immediate start. That would be something that I would like to start on as soon as I get into office. And then our socials. I feel like our socials, sometimes socials, it's you kind of putting yourself out there, and you're going to have your complainers or people that have complaints. But it's still informative, and it's one of the better ways. It's not the only way, because there's a lot of people that are not on social media, so you cannot completely rely on social media. You need to have, I learned that with the foundation, you've got to have another source of communication.
Yep.
Typically an emailed newsletter would be great. I think we've got to continue to find things like Text My Gov, which is a great program that we hope a lot of people know about, that they can sign in or opt out, either way they want to do it, and they can tweak it to what they want to get text messages on and what they don't, what they're not interested in. Public Works has been using it to let people know about, our leaf trucks have been down, of all things. They break down, both of them. We have two, and they break down, and people have all their leaves raked and they're to the edge, and we can't come pick them up unless they're willing to bag them, and we do. Right. But that communication to the public, to the community, that we're having trouble with our leaf trucks, that's so valuable. It helps prevent frustration. It would be a great opportunity, as we're in all these road projects, to be able to keep people updated. Okay, this is when the northbound side is going to be closed on I-59. And this might be a good alternate route to take while this lane is closed. Those kind of communications will help reduce, hopefully, the stress and anxiety that Trussville traffic brings. So things like that, just better communication. We did, as a council, get our council meetings on YouTube. We have a YouTube channel, accessing that more, being able to put more key meetings on that. All meetings are open to the public. Anybody can come to a called meeting, and you're more than welcome to. But a lot of people don't have the time, or truthfully may just not want to participate. But if they had the option to go back and look at it, if they had a question, then they would have it there. It's all about providing access, options of all different types, because you've got to touch it on all the levels, because not everyone receives their information the same way. We would try to stay away from any kind of mailing, simply due to the cost. That's very expensive. We don't need to incur a lot of extra cost like that. So I think an email would be fantastic, or any kind of text software that you could get updates on things. And our website, we can continue to keep it updated, even maybe a little bit more on each department or each board meeting that we have on the different departments, whether it's planning and zoning, whether it's parks and rec, that type thing, where we can just offer more opportunities for people to stay more informed.
Yeah, no, I like it. I think something like that has long been needed in Trussville, because it's gotten big enough to where, and like you said, you've got to hit everybody everywhere. I mean, it's kind of like our Cabo Homestead Heritage Foundation. When we put something out that we really need people to see, or really want them to see, we've got people delivering stuff to mailboxes so that we know you're getting a hard copy. You're going to check your mailbox. But yes, we also are going to hit you via email. We are going to hit you on the Instagrams and Facebook and all those different things. But we're trying to make it where you have to try to not see us, right?
And, 100%. Yeah.
And I think that's more so key for a city as a whole, especially, some of the examples you mentioned. If a road's going to be closed, I want to know about it before I get to that road and get stuck and have to turn around and that kind of thing,
Well, I've discovered for sure that when you get maybe that angry or upset person that sends an email, 9 times out of 10, if you will respond to them, maybe even a phone conversation, or I'll meet you for coffee, you can resolve it. And most of it is because of lack of communication. So that'd be something that we will try to hit on that as hard as we can right out of the chute with the new mayor and council, on just letting the community know more of what's going on, and hear the different avenues that I would choose to take.
Absolutely. Last one. What will, because we're doing this now because you just recently announced going to have one of these with Ben Short as well. There's a long time till August. What does the campaign look like? How gray is your hair going to get over the next 8 months?
Oh, it's already pretty gray. No, it was important for me. Like I said, once the mayor just made his decision on his timetable, we knew that we would be ready to launch soon. So it was important to me to be the first person that made the announcement, to go ahead and set out what my agenda would be, what my priorities would be, who I am for those that do not know me, and just get people to get to know me better and faster. Just being able to start early, which it is. August is a long way away, so the announcement is the key first pivotal thing that you do. Now, moving forward, we will just start sharing things that we want to get accomplished, sharing more things about who I am, how I can represent you better, what it looks like in the future for Trussville, what the priorities will be. So we'll start sharing those via website and via social media. And then getting into neighborhoods. So getting into HOAs, would love to have like a captain in every neighborhood that could help organize and be able to be a connectivity piece, because we know our neighborhoods our HOAs are our driving force of communities and where we live. So you're going to see a lot of that. It'll probably kind of be a little bit of a wane period, during the winter months, but just a continuous reach out. I've got a website. You can email if you have questions. lisabright.org is my website. From there, you can just go from there and send in an email, or if you want to request a yard sign. Of course, there'll be all kinds of events that the city puts on over the next several months. We don't even qualify for running for office until July. So that's a little bit of people don't understand that, but you can start campaigning whenever you want to, but you don't qualify till July, and the election will be in late August.
Okay. Well, good luck. Congratulations
Thank you.
on making the announcement and giving it a go. And maybe 8 months from now, we'll do another one of these closer to or post election or something like that. We'll see.
Sure, would love to. Would love to give people an update, because there may be some new things that we kind of take a look at and think, well, maybe we should add that to the campaign. But just want to be out there. I feel like I do a pretty good job of being in the community, and not necessarily just on socials, but I'm actually there, and just having that, just people be able to come up and talk to me. I try to be very accessible if I can, and we'll continue to do that in the future.
Sounds good. Well, I appreciate the time, Lisa. Thank you for doing this.
Sure, Gary. Thank you so much, and have a Merry Christmas.
You too.